Hello, boys and girls. I know you've been waiting anxiously for my Florida Panthers commentary, but I have been over at my Swedish life coach Ingrid's house. Hello. Say hi, Ingrid.
Hi.
She doesn't know English except for hi, so that's all we got from her. But and in doing so, I have did some life reflection, and we did some meditation, we did some yoga, and prepared ourselves for this Florida commentary that I'm bringing to you, my darlings. Florida Panthers. The Florida Panthers are an amazing organization because they are one of the two organizations that seem to have at least completely embraced the analytics way of building an organization. Arizona being the other one with Shaka. By the way, Shaka makes me think of Shaka Khan, and I all of a sudden start singing that song for like 3 days. It's annoying, and you probably will now. If you know who they are and what they are, high five to you. So the great thing about the Florida Panthers is, again, that they're following the analytics way of building an organization, and I think it's going to work out really well for them. The Pissick for Kulikov trade is a highlight of what that is. I think about 7 or 8 years ago, if you traded a player like Pissick for, or traded for a player like Pissick for a player like Kulikov, people would have lost their minds. Kulikov is a hard-nosed defensive defenseman who has a little bit of offense and is a veteran, but not really hasn't been not that much of a veteran. He's not beyond his years by any stretch. He's a good defenseman. Pissick, on the other hand, is not really physical, but his analytics numbers are insane. His possession numbers are fantastic. Yet he didn't get very many minutes in Buffalo, and he plays an unassuming game where you hardly notice him. But at the end of the day, his numbers look excellent. So they make trades like that. Same as Goodbranson to Vancouver for I don't even remember his name now, forgive me, but basically a third line center with really good possession numbers. 10 years ago, you wouldn't even make a trade like that. There's no way you would ever make that trade, but actually it'll probably end up being a good trade for them because they were able to get Yandel out of the deal, which is the possession darling of the last 5 years. They have gone everything possession. It's going to be so interesting to see how this turns out compared to a team like Buffalo, who isn't really analytics driven, but is still building a pretty solid team. I think the Panthers are going to win on this one, especially when you bring in a guy like Yager, who is about as character as you are ever going to possibly find. He's one of the hardest working players that we've seen in the last 10 years. The guy works out like mad, and he has the type of charisma that's going to bring in his team to follow him. I think that this team is going to be amazing. It's unfortunately we have the injury of Huberdeau this year, and their drafting has been nothing but spectacular. They have drafted excellent up until now. I think you're going to see big things. I really like the fact that they use their youth for their third and fourth lines. I mentioned yesterday we were talking about Detroit, where everybody that went through that organization pretty much had to go through the fourth line before they could ever get to the second and third. And that is happening in Florida as well. They seem to have really did their homework throughout the league and with successful teams to build their team in that way. They have a fellow named Miglin. I've never even heard of him before, and now he's got like 4 or 5 goals. His numbers are amazing. They picked up Marchessault from Tampa, another really good analytics player who showed a lot of promise offensively and is paying off now with their injuries to Huberdeau. This team is being built in a way that is probably the progressive way the league will be built in the future. But we'll see. We'll see how it works out because we have other organizations that are building a different way. Vancouver, who picked up Drew Bronson, is more of the old school way. Buffalo seems to be blending the two together. But Florida seems to be going hardcore analytics, and it's going to be interesting to watch them go. I really hope that the Florida fans embrace this team, because as I've said with other organizations, we really need your support. We want to see these organizations do well. Gallant, as a coach, seems to be doing extremely well in the sense that he coaches a possession type game, and he coaches it well. These guys are playing like that. That's why they made the playoffs last year, is because they followed his type of possession game. It's much the same as some of the great possession coaches that you see today. Quinville doesn't get credit for that as much. He has a possession type game. It's not old school. He is not old school in the sense that he really is driven towards possession. And you're going to see more coaches like this as well, but this particular coach is perfect for that team. And then you have the posture response with Florida. They brought in Luongo for a building team. This is not the way people felt that you should build a team. You shouldn't bring in a goaltender that good. And as I've mentioned with the Oilers and what needs to happen, I think, in Carolina, you can't build a team without a goaltender much the same as Luongo, because he stabilizes all the play that's happening. He allows people to play the way you're supposed to play. If you don't have a good goaltender, you're always questioning yourself. You're not able to play the game the way you want to play it, or at the very least, you're insecure about your decisions. And if you are, you're not going to be able to play a good possession game. This is a very well-built team that's going to be, I think, the Detroit Red Wings of our future. I hope so, because we need a team like that in Florida. Anyways, high five to all those fans out there that are watching the Florida Panthers. I hope you build. I make fun of you by saying like the Florida fan, because there's not much of you out there. But I think this team is building a team that everybody's going to embrace, and I certainly do too. That's my full 42 for you today. I'm going to spend some more time with my life coach this evening, and we're going to have, what are we eating today, life coach?
Just bake pork ribs.
Pork ribs?
Mm-hmm.
That's why I have
some veggies.
That's a good life coach right there. If you can get a life coach that'll cook you pork ribs, go with that. Have a great day.